Hello, and welcome to Soothing Pod Sleep Stories. I am Michael, and tonight we journey across the silvered skies of ancient Egypt, where the moon rises over the Nile and whispers of gods move through shadowed temples. We follow Thoth, the moon scribe, as he measures the stars, records the balance of the world, and guides both gods and mortals with quiet wisdom. From the primordial waters of none to the hall of two truths in the underworld, his presence weaves harmony through time, dreams, and the cycles of life. In the hush of moonlight, every ripple of the river, every swaying reed, every flicker of torchlight in sacred halls becomes part of a delicate, enduring order, a story of knowledge, balance, and luminous calm. The night stretches wide and still, a deep, velvet sky sprinkled with stars. A gentle breeze carries the scent of lotus and river reeds, weaving through silent temples and empty streets. The waters of the Nile shimmer faintly, reflecting the moon's pale glow, as if the river itself breathes in quiet rhythm. Each ripple moves with intention, unhurried, unbroken, tracing patterns that have endured for countless ages. Shadows of palms sway softly along the sand, bending without resistance, touching the earth in tender balance. Above, the crescent moon rises slowly, its light cool and steady, illuminating the land without haste or harshness. Time here feels fluid yet ordered, measured yet infinite, each moment unfolding in harmony with the next. In this gentle stillness, the world seems to breathe as one. The river, the sand, the stars, the quiet temples, and the silent presence of the heavens above. The mind drifts with these rhythms, noticing the slow pulse of night, the steady arc of the moon, and the quiet order that guides all things. Here in silvered calm, beginnings gather like dew, and the story of light, life, and wisdom quietly prepares to unfold. Before there was river or reed, before temple column or carved stone, there was only the vastness. The ancient Egyptians called it Nun, an endless silent ocean without shore or current. It was not water as rivers are water, nor sea as the Mediterranean presses against sand. It was deeper than depth, darker than night, still beyond stillness. No wind crossed it, no light trembled upon it. Within its quiet expanse, nothing yet had a name. Time did not move there. There was no before and no after, only potential, resting. And then, as if a breath had formed within the infinite, a stirring began. From the formless waters rose a mound, the first land, lifting gently from the abyss. It was small and glistening, as though shaped from dew and silence. Upon that first rising earth stood the self-created sun, Ra, radiant and alone. His light was not yet harsh or blinding. It unfolded softly, like the opening of an eye. Gold spread across the waters of none, and for the first time, darkness loosened its hold. The horizon separated itself from the sky. The sky lifted, the waters receded. With Ra's light came warmth. With warmth came breath. With breath came life. From him flowed the first divine principles: air and moisture, sky and earth. The world began to take shape in gentle layers. Above, the sky arched like a vast blue body. Below, the earth stretched wide and patient. Between them shimmered the promise of rivers, of desert winds, of distant mountains. Creation in Egypt was not a sudden violence, but a gradual ordering. Light distinguished itself from shadow. Sky learned its place above land. The river traced its path between banks. Each thing settled into its nature, yet even in the new and shining world, something was incomplete. Ra's light ruled the day, brilliant and unwavering. But when he descended beyond the horizon and the sky dimmed into indigo, uncertainty returned. Without light, how would rhythm continue? Without rhythm, how would seeds know when to rise? How would the Nile know when to swell and when to retreat? How would voices know when to speak and when to be silent? Creation required more than brilliance. It required measure. The ancient priests understood this well. They watched the rivers flooding and its retreat. They observed stars shifting slowly across the night. They marked seasons not by guesswork but by careful attention. In their temples, they spoke of a balance that held the cosmos together, unseen but precise. Light alone could not sustain it. It needed counting. It needed recording. It needed a mind to shape sound into language and movement into time. As the sun completed its first arc and dipped again into the western horizon, a softer glow lingered in the sky. It did not blaze. It did not command. It gathered itself in silver quietness. From the deep blue veil of night, a pale disk began to rise. At first it was faint, like a whisper barely spoken. Then it strengthened, pouring cool light across the newborn land. The river reflected it in trembling strands. The desert sands answered with muted sheen. Palms stood in still silhouette beneath its watch. The moon did not compete with the sun. It measured what the sun illuminated. It softened edges. It revealed subtleties. Under its gaze, the world seemed to think. The priests of later ages would say that this glow was not merely light, but awareness, a presence that counted the stars and listened to the hush between heartbeats. They would speak of wisdom that belonged not to the blazing noon, but to the reflective hours after sunset. For creation, once begun, needed continuity. The sun brought life. The night would bring understanding. Above the quiet Nile, still unnamed, still wandering its ancient path. That first moon hovered like a promise. Its silver path stretched across the waters, steady and deliberate, as though tracing lines invisible to the eye. The cosmos, born from none and illuminated by Ra, now waited for something subtler, the hand that would record its order, the mind that would give shape to speech, the guardian who would keep time from dissolving back into chaos. In the vast hush of that first night, beneath the silver arc rising over fertile banks and silent dunes, the rhythm of existence found its second heartbeat. And in that quiet light, the story of the moon's scribe began to gather. When the first night settled into rhythm and the silver disk of the moon began its steady ascent and descent, the gods observed the world they had shaped. By day, Ra crossed the heavens in his solar bark, pouring gold over river and reed. By night, a cooler radiance drifted across the sky, patient and attentive. That light did not blaze like the sun. It lingered. It watched. From this luminous stillness emerged a presence unlike the others. He was not born in thunder nor in flame. His coming was quieter, shaped from thought as much as light. The ancient traditions of Egypt remembered him in different ways. In some tellings, he rose from the lips of Ra as divine speech given form. In others, he emerged from the mind of creation itself, the embodiment of understanding. But in every account, he was necessary. He was called Thoth. His Egyptian name, Jehuti, was spoken with reverence in temple courts. He was often depicted as a man with the graceful head of an ibis, long-beaked, keen-eyed, standing at the water's edge in contemplative stillness. At times he appeared as a sacred baboon, seated upright at dawn, hands lifted as if greeting the rising sun. Both forms reflected attentiveness, calculation, and quiet intelligence. The ibis watched the river patiently before striking with precision. The baboon marked the morning with cries that echoed like measured calls. In these creatures, the Egyptians recognized qualities of observation and order, and so they saw their moon god reflected there. While the sun governed illumination, Thoth governed comprehension. It was said that he measured the heavens, placing each star in its proper path. He counted the days as they unfolded and gave structure to the year. He understood that without reckoning, time would drift like sand scattered by wind. In some temples, especially those at Hermopolis, priests told of a sacred city where Thoth was chief among the divine powers. There he was, revered not merely as moonlight, but as the mind behind creation's order, the one who gave names to things so they could exist fully. For in Egyptian thought, to name was to define, and to define was to sustain. Thoth was credited with the invention of writing itself. The curling forms of hieroglyphs, birds, reeds, eyes, suns, hands, were said to have flowed from his wisdom. With ink made from soot and water, scribes traced sacred symbols onto papyrus, believing that each sign carried divine precision. Through writing, memory endured. Through writing, law was preserved. Through writing, stories crossed generations without fading into silence. He was called Lord of Divine Words, Master of Books, and Reckoner of Time. He recorded the decrees of the gods and the outcomes of celestial events. When Ra sailed across the sky, it was Thoth who ensured the journey followed its ordained course. When disputes stirred among the divine assembly, it was Thoth whose measured speech restored clarity. Though another moon deity, Khonsu, was worshipped in later centuries, as a youthful lunar figure associated with healing and travel, Thoth remained the deeper, more ancient embodiment of the moon's intellectual light. Where Khonsu embodied motion and renewal, Thoth embodied calculation and understanding. As the moon waxed and waned, its changing face mirrored the nature of knowledge itself, sometimes full and luminous, sometimes slender and subtle, yet always returning. Thoth's presence followed these phases, steady and assured. In temple reliefs he stands beside gods and kings, palette and reed pen in hand, recording events with calm concentration. His posture is never hurried. His gaze is never clouded. Even amid divine disputes or cosmic upheaval, he remains composed, the quiet mind within the storm. Under his guidance, language flourished, mathematics emerged. The cycles of the Nile were studied and anticipated. Priests aligned temple corridors with stars. Farmers planted seeds according to lunar signs. The night sky became not a void, but a manuscript. And across that manuscript, in silver arcs and measured phases, the moon's scribe traced his eternal calculations, ensuring that creation, born from the waters of Nun and illuminated by the fire of Ra, would endure in balance. In the gentle glow of moonlight upon papyrus and polished stone, Thoth's wisdom spread like cool radiance across the land, preparing the world for the deeper harmonies yet to unfold. When the world had settled into its pattern of sunrise and dusk, of flood and retreat, of seed and harvest, the sky itself became a vast instrument of measure. Each evening, as Ra descended beyond the western horizon, the heavens shifted from gold to indigo. Stars emerged in careful procession, scattered yet precise, like luminous markings upon an endless tablet. Into that quiet expanse rose the pale arc of the moon, the enduring sign of Thoth. He did not govern the night with spectacle. His rule was subtle, expressed in cycles rather than commands. Night after night, his form changed. A slender crescent hovered low above the horizon, then a widening curve, then fullness, round and luminous, before slowly diminishing again. In this steady transformation lay one of his greatest gifts. The ancient Egyptians watched closely. They observed that the moon's return to fullness marked a reliable passage of days. They noticed that certain stars rose just before dawn at predictable times of the year. They saw that the Nile's swelling came in rhythms that could be anticipated. Nothing was random. Everything unfolded according to unseen calculations. And it was Thoth who understood these calculations. It was said that he measured the sky with invisible lines, assigning each star its course, so that the celestial canopy would never descend into chaos. The priests spoke of how he recorded the hours of the night, dividing darkness into segments so that even absence of sunlight carried order. Where others saw only shadow, he saw patterns. In temple observatories, scribes tracked the rising of Sirius, whose appearance heralded the Nile's annual flood. They aligned corridors to solstices and equinoxes, trusting that the heavens were not erratic but governed by reason. Each alignment, each calculation honored the quiet intelligence of the moon's scribe. There was an ancient tradition that told of how Thoth aided Ra in his nightly journey. When the sun god entered the underworld after dusk, sailing through the shadow Duat, it was Thoth who ensured that the hours were counted and the dangers marked. The solar bark did not drift blindly through darkness. It followed a charted passage. Each hour had its guardian, each threshold its name. Thus even the unseen realms obeyed measure. The waxing and waning of the moon became more than beauty. Farmers watched its phases before planting barley and emmer wheat. Fishermen noted its pull upon river currents. Priests timed rituals to its fullness, believing that prayers carried differently beneath complete illumination. The calendar of Egypt, so vital to survival, was born from observation of sun and moon together, woven into a system of months and seasons. Yet unlike the unchanging blaze of the sun, the moon taught flexibility within order. It showed that completeness could diminish without vanishing, that light could retreat and return. In its rhythm lay reassurance. At night, along the banks of the Nile, reeds whispered softly under silver glow. Water reflected the moon's path in trembling lines, breaking and reforming with each ripple. Barges drifted quietly, their sails furled, lanterns dim beside the steady radiance above. The desert beyond the river shimmered faintly. Dunes softened into gentle contours. Under this light, thought deepened. Scribes bent over papyrus, their ink dark against pale sheets. In the hush of evening, mathematics felt less like labor and more like harmony. Numbers were not merely quantities. They were expressions of cosmic balance. Thoth, unseen yet present, presided over these labors. He was not a distant deity, removed from mortal concerns. His essence lived within every careful inscription, every measured cubit, every calendar etched into stone. To count was to honor him. To write was to reflect his gift. To observe the sky with patience was to walk, however briefly, in alignment with his wisdom. As the moon climbed to its zenith, full and luminous, the world below seemed suspended in quiet understanding. Nothing hurried, nothing faltered. Even darkness felt intentional, shaped into intervals that would give way to dawn. For Thoth did not merely illuminate the night, he structured it, and in the silver progression from crescent to fullness and back again, he traced a promise across the heavens that time, though ever moving, would never lose its rhythm, and that creation, born from primordial waters and brightened by solar fire, would endure through the steady, measured breath of the moon. In the early ages of the world, when the heavens were still young, and the rhythm of time newly established, the year was not as it is now. The sky moved in perfect symmetry. 12 months passed in the ordered procession, each containing 30 days. 360 days circled the earth in seamless precision, a number elegant and complete. The gods were satisfied with its balance, yet within that balance lay a prohibition. The sky goddess Nut, whose arched body formed the vault above the earth, had been forbidden by Ra to bear children on any day of the year. Whether from prophecy or divine caution, the decree was absolute. No birth would occur within the 360 days that existed. And so Nut carried within her the promise of life, yet no day permitted its arrival. The cosmos, though orderly, had become constrained by its own perfection. It was then that Thoth considered the matter. He understood that creation thrives not only through structure, but through adaptation. Order must allow for growth. A measure too rigid becomes a boundary. He turned his attention toward the moon itself, toward Khonsu, whose light waxed and waned across the sky. Khonsu's brilliance was strong in those days, radiant and full, his glow rivaling even the memory of the sun at dusk. Thoth proposed a contest. Some versions of the tale speak of a game of senet, the ancient board of fate, where pieces move according to chance, yet conceal deeper strategy. Others simply say it was a contest of calculation and wit. However it was played, the stakes were unusual. Thoth wagered not gold nor power, but fractions of light. Piece by piece, through patience and foresight, Thoth prevailed. From Khonsu, he won a small portion of lunar radiance, not enough to extinguish the moon, but enough to gather something new. The light he gained did not vanish into shadow. Thoth shaped it. From those luminous fragments he fashioned 5 additional days. They did not belong to any month. They were set gently between years, suspended like pearls strung between cycles. Thus the calendar expanded. 360 became 365, and upon those 5 newly created days, Nut at last brought forth her children. On the first day was born Osiris, who would one day rule with wisdom and later reign in the realm beyond life. On the second came Horus the Elder, ancient falcon of the heavens. The third welcomed Seth, fierce and untamed. The fourth brought forth Isis, whose devotion would become legend. And on the fifth was born Nephthys, quiet guardian of thresholds. The cosmos shifted subtly with their arrival. Stories would unfold from their lives, tales of devotion, rivalry, loss, restoration. But for now, their births marked something simpler and profound. Time had made room for possibility. Thoth had not broken Ra's decree. He had not undone the structure of the year. Instead, he had expanded it with precision. His wisdom lay not in defiance, but in ingenuity. From that moment, the Egyptian calendar bore the imprint of his insight. The 5 epigomenal days, sacred and set apart, were recognized as liminal moments, days that stood slightly outside ordinary time. Festivals honored the births that had occurred upon them. Priests marked them with special awareness, and the moon itself changed. Because a portion of its light had been given away, it no longer shone in unbroken fullness. Instead, it waxed and waned, diminishing and returning in an eternal rhythm. Its changing face became a reminder of that ancient game of light redistributed to allow life to unfold. Thus even loss became pattern. Under the night sky, as the moon thinned to crescent and swelled again to brilliance, the story endured. The heavens bore silent witness to the quiet negotiation that had reshaped the year. Thoth, patient and composed, had shown that balance is not static. It listens, it adjusts, it finds harmony where rigidity would fail. And so the calendar turned, enriched by 5 luminous days, while the moon traced its altered path above the Nile. A silver testament to wisdom measured not only in numbers, but in compassion for what creation required. Time moved forward, carrying with it the lives of those born upon the 5 sacred days. Among them, harmony did not endure untouched. After the reign of Osiris was broken and his life brought to an end by his brother Seth, the balance of the world trembled. The Nile still flowed. The moon still rose. Yet beneath the steady rhythm of nature lay tension, unresolved. From grief and devotion, Isis protected her son, Horus, raising him in secrecy until he was strong enough to claim his father's rightful place. What followed was not a single battle, but a long contention, a struggle stretching across years, perhaps generations. The gods themselves assembled in council, uncertain how to resolve the dispute. Seth, fierce and tempestuous, argued from strength. Horus, rightful heir, argued from lineage and justice. Between them stood Thoth, He did not carry a weapon. He carried a reed pen. In the divine tribunal, where voices rose and accusations circled like desert winds, Thoth listened. He recorded each word, each oath, each claim. His presence did not silence conflict, but it contained it within measured boundaries. No argument dissolved into chaos while he observed. There were contests between Horus and Seth, races across the Nile, transformations into beasts, trials of endurance and cunning. In one tale, they contended in boats carved of stone. In another, they shifted shapes beneath the river's surface. Victory wavered like heat above sand, and in one fierce encounter Horus lost his eye. The eye of Horus, luminous, powerful, symbol of kingship, was torn from him in battle. The sky itself seemed dimmed by its absence. Light fractured, order faltered. It was Thoth who stepped forward. With calm deliberation, he gathered the scattered fragments. He did not rush. He did not condemn. Piece by piece, through knowledge and incantation, he restored what had been broken. The eye was reassembled, healed, made whole again. From that restoration emerged one of Egypt's most enduring symbols, the Eye of Horus, also called the Wadjet. Each part of its form came to represent a fractions, precise measurements used in mathematics and healing. The eye became not only a sign of protection, but of calculation and completeness. Loss had been transformed into understanding. Through Thoth's intervention, conflict did not vanish, but it found resolution. The eye, once torn away, became stronger in meaning. It symbolized restoration after fracture, clarity after confusion. The tribunal of the gods continued its deliberations, and in time, Horus was recognized as rightful ruler. Seth's force was not erased from the world. It remained necessary in its own domain, embodying storm and desert and raw power. But balance had been reestablished. Throughout the long struggle, Thoth remained constant, mediator, healer, recorder. He demonstrated that wisdom is not passive. It does not withdraw from disorder. Instead, it steps into the center of turmoil and draws careful lines through it. It measures damage and restores proportion. Under the night sky, the moon's phases seem to echo that ancient conflict and its healing. Fullness diminished, darkness encroached, yet light returned, restored as surely as the eye of Horus had been restored. Along the Nile's banks, amulets bearing the eye were worn by children and kings alike. They were etched into tomb walls and carved into temple reliefs. Each curve of the symbol carried within it the memory of fracture and repair, and of the quiet God who had mended what violence had undone. Thoth's reed pen moved steadily across papyrus in the halls of the divine court, inscribing the outcome not as triumph over destruction, but as equilibrium regained. And so the moon continued its measured journey overhead, reflecting the enduring truth that even in contention, there exists a path back to balance, guided by patience, shaped by understanding, and recorded forever in silver light. Beyond the lands of the living, where the Nile's waters became shadowed and the desert's heat softened into twilight, lay a realm both feared and revered, the Duat, the eternal underworld. It was not a place of torment alone, nor a paradise untouched. It was a domain of transition where souls passed from one life into the next. Here, order was tested and truth took form. In the heart of this realm stood the Hall of Two Truths, a vast chamber whose walls shimmered with the gold of countless inscriptions. Torches flickered gently, casting patterns across the polished floors, and every whisper echoed in quiet resonance. This hall was not ruled by might or fear. It was governed by Thoth, the scribe of the gods, the quiet recorder of destinies. At the center, the scales of Ma'at stood tall, the feather of Ma'at, delicate and luminous, awaited the hearts of the departed. Each soul approached, and Anubis weighed their hearts against that feather, measuring the balance of deeds, intentions, and truth. Thoth did not judge. He did not sway the scales. His role was subtler, yet no less vital. With reed pen in hand, he inscribed the outcome. Every heart weighed, every truth revealed, was recorded with precision. The scrolls of eternity stretched endlessly around him, inscribed in perfect hieroglyphs that glimmered softly under torchlight. In this quiet work there was profound care. Each mark on the papyrus preserved the integrity of life. Each word ensured that the cosmos remained consistent, that the order of things endured beyond the fleeting span of mortal experience. Thoth's presence guaranteed that justice was more than measure, it was memory. Some hearts trembled, others glowed with ease, but all were treated with equal attention. Even when the departed had faltered, even when their paths were tangled in error or regret, Thoth's hand recorded with neutrality. The act of recording was itself a restoration. In his ink, imbalance became known, and from awareness came equilibrium. Legends spoke of Thoth moving among shadows, his ibis head silhouetted against glowing walls, observing with calm detachment. Baboons chattered faintly in distant chambers, marking hours, as though even the smallest creatures understood the precision required here. Scrolls shimmered like still water under the moon's reflection, and each line inscribed brought clarity to the unseen. Through this eternal diligence, Thoth ensured that the underworld was not a place of arbitrary chaos. Every decision, every consequence, every chance for redemption was noted. He preserved the continuity of life and death alike, allowing the universe to unfold according to measured law. Outside, the moon's silver light traced its quiet arc across the night sky, a reflection of the scribe's calm vigilance. Just as Thoth guided the stars and seasons above, he guided the paths of souls below. Each cycle of waxing and waning mirrored the eternal balance he maintained, a reminder that life and death, light and shadow, action and reflection were all parts of the same design. In the hush of the duat, amid the scent of incense and the glow of torchlight, the presence of Thoth was unmistakable, not a god of fear, but a guardian of truth, not a master of punishment, but a keeper of order. And in his steady, deliberate movements, the universe whispered its understanding, that even beyond the veil of mortal life, balance would be preserved, recorded, and remembered. In the silver-lit, eternal hand of the moon scribe, with the underworld's order ensured and the cycles of day and night carefully measured, Thoth's influence reached beyond mere law and calculation. He was the guardian of Ma'at, the principle of cosmic balance that governed not only the actions of gods and mortals, but also the very flow of thought and intention. Through him, Ma'at was preserved in word, in deed, and in the quiet spaces between. In temples and cities, scribes bent over papyrus, their reed pens tracing symbols of power and wisdom. Each mark was an echo of Thoth's own mind, precise, deliberate, patient. Through his guidance, humans learned that their words carried weight, that oaths and promises were not empty sound, that understanding required both observation and reflection. But beyond the tangible, Thoth watched over subtler realms, the world of dreams. The moon's silver light did more than illuminate the earth. It reached into the mind, touching visions and possibilities that awake hours often ignored. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the world softened into stillness, dreams moved like gentle rivers, carrying whispers of knowledge, of memory, of prophecy. It was said that Thoth could enter dreams as a silent observer, offering insight without interference, guidance without imposition. Sometimes he appeared as an ibis gliding through starlit skies, sometimes as a baboon, attentive and curious, calling softly at the edge of consciousness. Through these forms, he reminded dreamers that wisdom often arrives not in bold proclamation, but in quiet reflection. The cycles of the moon mirrored the cycles of dreaming. The waxing crescent inspired curiosity and beginnings. The full moon encouraged clarity and understanding. The waning crescent invited introspection and release. Observing these phases, priests, scribes, and seekers of knowledge attuned themselves to the rhythm of insight, allowing nocturnal visions to guide choices, creativity, and perception. Thoth's connection to dreams was intimately tied to his mastery of language and writing. Words, after all, were vessels for thought, and thoughts flowed into dreams as naturally as the Nile flowed toward the delta. When one woke from a night's vision and recorded its details on papyrus, they traced the patterns that Thoth had gently woven through the night. Symbols became guidance, stories became understanding. Each line carried the quiet logic of the moon scribe. The stars, reflected in the still waters of the Nile, seemed to participate in this nocturnal council. Their movements were not chaotic but deliberate, pointing towards cycles and possibilities. In their light, dreams became maps, intuition became knowledge, and fleeting insight found permanence in careful observation. Through it all, Thoth remained both distant and intimate, a guardian of order who moved in harmony with the unseen. He reminded the world that balance is not only in law and mathematics, but in the quiet realms of reflection, of thought, and of imagination. As the night unfolds and the moon wanes and returns, there exists a constant presence guiding, recording, and illuminating. And so, beneath the silvered heavens and across the silent waters, the people of Egypt dreamt under the watchful care of the moon scribe. In the hush of night, in the soft glow upon papyrus, in the gentle sway of the river and reeds, the rhythm of wisdom persisted, a current that carried knowledge, balance, and insight, quietly yet unfailingly, into every corner of the waking and dreaming world. Night had deepened over the land of Egypt, and the moon rose once more above the horizon, pale and luminous, reflecting silver across the gentle curve of the Nile. Its light stretched like a bridge from the desert sands to the river's flowing heart, touching temples, villages, and fields alike. In that quiet glow, the world seemed suspended, neither fully awake nor entirely asleep, but held in a delicate balance that had endured for millennia. From Thebes to Karnak, from the pylons of distant temples to the smallest shrines by the river, the moon's reflection kissed every surface. Columns gleamed faintly, carved hieroglyphs shimmered under the soft illumination, and the statues of gods seemed to breathe in the calm radiance. The night air carried the subtle fragrance of lotus and incense, blending with the cool river breeze. Shadows traced themselves slowly across walls, revealing shapes that seemed alive, yet serene. High above, Thoth watched from his celestial perch, not with the flash of spectacle, nor the intensity of fire, but with the quiet vigilance that had always defined him. He moved through the phases of the moon as naturally as the river moved through the land, tracing its cycles with silent care. His influence touched every measure of time, every flow of water, every pattern of stars. The balance of Ma'at, the order of life and death, the rhythm of dreams and wakefulness, all were sustained under his patient gaze. The river itself mirrored the moon in a liquid reflection, rippling gently under the sway of night winds. Barges drifted quietly, their lanterns dim against the pervasive silver glow. Reeds leaned softly toward the water, their whispers carrying across still expanses. Even the desert beyond the riverbank seemed softened and folded into gentle undulations beneath the lunar light. Everything moved in harmony, guided by unseen hands and measured with eternal care. The moon's path traced across the heavens, slow and deliberate, a timeless sentinel. It reminded the land of the cycles that govern all things, day and night, life and death, growth and decay. And yet, its presence was not merely functional, it was comforting, a gentle companion for those who observed it, a silent witness to every thought, every whisper, every dream. Under its glow, the world could rest, knowing that patterns continued, that order endured, and that wisdom always remained within reach. For Thoth, the moon's scribe, did not rule through force or fear. He ruled through constancy. He counted the stars, measured the hours, preserved truth in writing, healed that which was broken, and guided souls with care. From the waxing crescent to the full moon and back again, he maintained the steady pulse of creation, a silver thread weaving together sky and earth, life and memory, thought and dream. As night stretched on, the moon lingered over the Nile, its reflection stretching in long, trembling lines across the river's surface. The land, bathed in its gentle light, seemed to breathe as one, a single, unified rhythm of time and harmony. Every temple, every papyrus, every grain of sand was connected through the careful, watchful presence of the scribe who had measured the heavens and counted the hours. And in that eternal silver glow, one could sense the enduring truth of his work, that balance need not be loud to be powerful, that wisdom need not be rushed to be complete, and that even as centuries pass and empires rise and fall, the rhythm of the universe continues under the quiet vigilance of the moon's scribe. Above the Nile, the moon traced its infinite arc. Below, the river carried its reflection softly toward the delta, toward the sea, and all around, creation rested, measured, illuminated, and preserved. Beneath the eternal light of Thoth, whose presence, though unseen, shaped every ripple, every shadow, every dream, in perfect harmony. I hope you enjoyed tonight's story and that it has brought you a night of peaceful, restful sleep. Please join me again tomorrow night for another sleep story. Until then, sweet dreams.